What is up, everybody? Mr. Curtis here. Welcome to the first part of Unit 2. This unit's on political revolution, 1776 to 1824. All the stuff that we're going to talk about in this unit connects to Unit 1, and we're going to start seeing these things all kind of piggyback off of one another, and one thing influences another. But before we get into like the meat and potatoes or the heart of what we're going to focus on here, which is the French Revolution, I just want to take one step back here and really kind of talk about the American Revolution. Although it's really not a huge part of the Regents exam, knowing the background and the context, that's the word, that's the buzzword we're going to try and focus on in this unit, historical context. Knowing what happened before the French Revolution is important to understand. So got to drop in a little American Revolution here. I'm assuming that most of you have learned this multiple times in your life. My daughter, when she was in fourth grade, they did an American Revolution play. I'm sure that you've talked about this over the years. So I'm just going to keep this short and sweet on this. For those that don't know, 1776, 1783 are the years of the American Revolution. And hopefully you know that the 13 American colonies, there were 13 of them all along the east coast of the United States, or what is now the United States, separated from Great Britain. The ideas of this separation really come from the Enlightenment ideas, the John Locke's of the world, the Baron de Montesquieu's of the world, Rousseau, Voltaire. These people are going to be very influential in the founding documents of the United States after they separate from Britain. So we're going to see these in the Enlightenment ideas in the Declaration of Independence, written by Thomas Jefferson, that we are endowed with our creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and he switches up to pursuit of happiness. So we're going to see a lot of these things of natural rights, laws of nature in the Declaration of Independence. We also see it, and obviously in the U.S. Constitution. Our Constitution, the framework of the United States, is based off of Enlightenment ideas, separation of powers, providing rights for people, social contract, but limiting rights at times. So I just want to point out, this is going to be influential. And you got to understand that, like, even though this isn't a huge part of the global history curriculum, because it's really a US-based topic, it does have a huge impact. And really what we're going to see is this American Revolution piece that's going on is going to impact the French Revolution, which is going to happen on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. And what we see are the causes or the historical context. Again, I'm going to keep saying this over and over, historical context or circumstance. If you see that historical circumstances, it just means causes. So historical context or historical circumstances just mean causes. We've been doing it a little bit in class with the CRQs and stuff. So in terms of the causes of the French Revolution, kind of one of the main things going on that have been happening for the past 100 years leading up to this French Revolution, which is going to take place in 1789, is the Enlightenment and the American Revolution. So these ideas of the Enlightenment, hopefully we realize at this point, and this is just a little review, are going to lead to people questioning government structures. And they're going to question what had been absolute monarchies. Remember, absolute monarchy, scientific revolution, leads to the Enlightenment. And now we're going to talk about what the Enlightenment is going to lead to next. We're going to build off of these things. The Enlightenment's going on. People have been talking about these ideas in France. France is the center of the Enlightenment. So that's pretty obvious of why the French Revolution would happen. Also, the American Revolution is a piece of this. Not only does the American Revolution provide an inspiration or a thing of possibility for the French as they look at the Americans and they say, and France at this time is like the creme de la creme. It's French for something, but they are like at the pinnacle of what everyone wants and the culture that everyone wants. And they look at this upstart American colonists and they're like, if they can do it, we can do it too. Also, the French king is going to send money to help out the American colonists. Even though the French king at the time, which we will get to at the end here, isn't about democracy, he's an absolute monarch, he does hate the British. It's his biggest rival. So he thinks by helping out the American colonists and having them separate from Britain, it will increase France's prestige and status around the world, which is going to end up backfiring on him as he's going to get his head chopped off a couple years later. But that's another story for another time. The other issue we have, so first historical circumstance or cause is this American Revolution and Enlightenment. Number two is an unequal social class structure, which we've talked a little bit about in class already, but just to let you know, it is the estate system. That's what it's called. It is an old class structure going way, way back in the day of feudal days where you have lords who get benefits and nobles. And then you also have the church, which has a big influence. And then there's like everybody else. And in this system, we have three estates. The first estate is the clergy. That's anyone in the Catholic Church, not members of the Catholic Church, because everyone's Catholic in France for the most part at this point. And if you're not, you get kicked out of the country or you can be imprisoned. So there's a very, very small group of people who are not Catholic at this point. We have the clergy, who are the first estate, they're known as. They are people who work for the church, priests, bishops, deacons, archbishops, etc. The second estate is the second class. They're the nobles. That is anyone who has had their land passed down from generation to generation. They could have had their land for 600 years, passed down from a former king from the 1100s, but they still have it. And then the third estate is everyone else. This estate right here is everybody, peasants and farmers, which are the majority of people in France, like 75, 80%, and also lawyers, doctors, teachers, business people, blah, 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 blah. Here's the deal with this. This group right here, the third estate, makes up 98% of the population. 98% of the population. The clergy is about 0.5%. The nobility is 1.5%. Why am I telling you all these numbers and why should you even care? Because this 98% of the population only owns 65% of the land, which is a huge discrepancy in resources. Also, this third estate pays 100% of the taxes. This is ridiculous that the nobles have 0% taxes that they're really paying, and the third estate is paying everything, and it is unfair, or as we would say, unequal. And when we talk about unequal, we are talking about rights. And when we talk about rights, we're talking about the Enlightenment, and the Enlightenment is going to lead to people start saying, gosh darn it, this is not fair. We need to do something about this. So they look at this and they're saying it's not fair. And when you reach into people's wallets and you're taking their money, it's a problem, especially if you're paying for a war that is going on in the other side of the Atlantic, like the American Revolution. And see, I'm tying all this together. Here's just a little cartoon, just real quick on this. This is a very popular cartoon. There's a lot of cartoons like this. I'm sure we'll see one on the test and we'll do something in class on it. But this is the first estate. This is the second estate. And this is supposed to represent taxes. And they're crushing the third estate with their taxes while they're just kind of chilling there. And the third estate's like, help me. So that's what we got. Cause number 3, poor harvest. This is one of like the major causes of revolutions around the world and upheaval and uprisings. When people are hungry, when people are starving, when people see their children starving to death because they don't have access to food, it is going to lead to people to do things much more extreme measures. For example, when you're hungry, when you're not hungry, when you have food, you're not, you're okay. But these people in France are going to have 3 years in a row of horrible harvests. There's all kinds of issues going on with weather and frozen, very, very cold winters, very, very hot summers, and it leads to not enough grain. And the main source of food source for people in France at the time was bread. So you need the wheat, you need the grain, and therefore you can produce food and eat food. As a result of this, a lot of people are going to be poor. And these poor people who don't have access to food are going to have an issue when the price of bread rises and they continue to not be able to afford it. Other people are going to lose their farmland because they can't pay bills. And it's this horrible cycle where people are going to start blaming somebody, and you generally blame the government when there's a problem like this and there's no solution to it and you're starving. Lastly, one last piece of this. There are 4 causes: Enlightenment, American Revolution, unequal social class. We also have poor harvest. And the very last one is weak leaders. Most of these issues probably could have been solved with a strong leader, someone who was able to assure the French people that he has or she has their back. But we have this King Louis the 16th, and this XVI is Roman numerals for 16, and his wife, Queen Marie Antoinette, who we'll talk more about in class. They are very ill-prepared or underprepared or not prepared at all for these challenges that are going on. And these are some serious stuff. I mean, there's a lot of change going on, and they are not capable or they don't do a good job of responding to the challenges that are faced, which leads to less confidence in them, which we're going to see over the next couple videos. So these poor harvests, the revolutionary money, they are bankrupt and they don't have enough money. So they're going to try to raise taxes again. And when you raise taxes on people who are already broke and poor and impoverished, it's going to backfire. So that's what we're going to get into: 4 causes or 4 historical circumstances that lead to the French Revolution. Next videos are going to be about the outcomes of the French Revolution. We'll get into it. If you got any questions, write it down. Let me know. I'm out.